Whether you've played Football Manager for ages or you're brand new to the game, there's a lot to learn, and even the most experienced player likely ignores a large portion of the game just to play it in the way they want, which is completely fine. But in today's video, I'll be giving you 5 tips to help your game in Football Manager. These are things that if I was starting now, I wish I'd knew, because it would make my life so much easier. Hello everyone, Jake here for FMSCOUT, and welcome to 5 things I wish I knew sooner in Football Manager. This will be a quick and hopefully helpful video to people who are new to the game, but also the most experienced player. I'd be surprised if you use all 5 of these easy, helpful tips. If you get any use from this video, drop a like and don't forget to subscribe as we push for 150,000 subscribers. But the most important thing is I want you guys to let me know in the comments down below your biggest Football Manager tip. That way anyone who comes and watches this video will find more tips in the comments. Let's help each other out, and now let's get into tip number 1. Now, as we all know, you can use filters to narrow down your searches, both for scouted players or players in your general range that you're looking for. For example, you can choose age, you can choose position to narrow it down. But did you know there's some filters that will save you a ton of time? This is especially useful if you are managing in England, which I know a lot of people will, and they are hidden in this add conditions section here. Now, there's one in here that I think a lot of people should use. Imagine you're looking for a player under the age of 21. You can see on the left-hand side here, we've got 17,000 results. But in England, as you know, it's quite hard to get a work permit for a player. But did you know you can go to transfer and then go to work permit chance and set it to work permit likely. This will now only bring up people who are likely to get a work permit. You can then filter that down for may qualify if you want to go for that. But you will see straight away when we go for work permit likely that our search of, 17,000 players goes down to 1,164 and shows us the players that we might actually be able to sign with a work permit. This will save you tons of time in terms of scouting players. It's something I have on most of the time when looking for signings, so make sure you do that if you want to help yourself out when looking for a new transfer to bring into your club. Tip number 2 is especially useful if you are in a transfer window. Now, we are currently in my Leicester save, which, by the way, if you want to check it out, you can find it linked in the description down below. Any support over there will be massively appreciated as we go for 10k subs. We're on 9.7 now, so getting very close. A lot of you guys have came over and said, I've came from FMSCOUT, I've enjoyed it, you've earned a new sub, whatever it might be. So if you do want to check that out, I would massively appreciate it. But let's get back to tip number 2, and as I said, yes, we're in a transfer window in this Leicester save, and there's a specific area of the game that I imagine 99% of players aren't going to, that every now and then finds me an absolute gem, and that involves going to your competitions tab, then heading into the league that you're in, and then go into news and transfer rumours. Now in here you'll get a list of media rumours in your league, whether it be the Premier League or otherwise, and you can learn a lot from here. Obviously you'll get the odd thing that doesn't really matter too much to us. It looks like at the top Newcastle are trying to get a new manager. That doesn't bother us too much. We can see Nathan Ake, that's a player we know about, but often in here you can find someone that you might have never even considered signing. Particularly when you're a few years into your save here, you can find real gems. But for example, apparently Liverpool are interested in triggering a £5 million release clause for Facundo Buonanotte, who I have no idea about this guy. It's a new player to me, and whilst I might not want to sign him, it's worth taking a look, right? And you can see he's an 18-year-old inverted winger. We need to scout him and everything first. But with Liverpool and Manchester City interested, we can assume this guy is a pretty good player and we wouldn't have known about him otherwise. Actually, in this case, it seems Liverpool have already made a bid, but most of the time it will just be a rumour and won't have kicked in yet. So there will be some other clubs going for these players that you look for, but it just gives you so many ideas of people that you might not have thought about signing. Even here, look, I've just learned that Dodi Lucabayo has a £9.5 million release clause, so you could take a look at him. Now you can go ahead, scout him and see if he's worth a go, and I think this transfer rumours page is super underused, particularly when you're in a pickle and in a transfer window. Tip number 3 will apply to similar situations when you're in the heat of a transfer window. Maybe one of your big signings is about to leave. Let's say Wilf Ndidi has a lot of interest in him and we need to find someone who can replace Ndidi and fast. I showed this in last year's video and a lot of people said that they didn't know this tip, so I thought I'd show it again. It is the Find Similar Players button, and I'll show an extra step on top of this in a few seconds. But if you click this button, instantly it will bring up players who are similar to Wilfred Ndidi, and from there you can start to narrow it down. There is 137 players similar to Ndidi, but I only want players under the age of 27. You'll see Rodri and Barella on there. So I'm going to tick only players that are interested in a transfer at a doubtful stage at most, and already that's narrowed it down to 51. Maybe I want to go super young and say I only want people under the age of 23. We're down to 24 players. And you can see that instantly we found a bunch of people that have a similar skill set to Wilf Ndidi. We've got Declan Rice, Manu Kone of Gladbach, who looks like a great signing, Manuel Ugarte of Sporting, Hugo Guillamon of Valencia, a player from Club Bruges, even going as far as a player in the second division of Spain playing for Granada, Raul Tarriente, who could supposedly do a similar job to Ndidi. You'll then have to scout these players to see if they're actually good replacements for Ndidi, but you might find a quick sign-in there. But a second part of tip 3, if you're also looking for a quick sign-in and you have a director of football, very easy, go to the transfers tab, director of football, suggest transfer targets, pick a position if you want it on loan, on transfer, as a free transfer, as an end of contract sign-in. Either way, the director of football will come back with some potential ones. Obviously, the quality of your director of football will matter here, and a lot of the times their suggestions aren't great, but it's something to go off if you are in a pickle. If I want to, I can go ahead and just tick every single position so he comes back with recommendations in all areas and then check out all of those recommendations. This is just a super easy way to get a bunch of suggestions in a flash if you are struggling. Particularly for beginners, one of the most underrated parts of Football Manager is your club dynamic. This is just the way I play, but for me, dynamics are as important as tactics and the transfers that you make to your squad. If you have a great squad but they hate you and the club atmosphere is terrible and the team cohesion is down, they're not going to play as well. And often after a few broken promises and a few unhappy players, it can be very hard to recover your team, particularly if you're in a slump, but that's what the team meeting button's for. And for tip number 4, we'll be looking at this and other ways you can quickly boost morale. Now for the team meeting, I'm not able to do one just yet because I've recently done one, but often people will only do these if it's suggested to them, but you can get in there nice and early to give yourself a little morale boost. And I'm going to show you when we were in a poor run of form at Leicester. You can see it here in October. It wasn't going well. Our morale was down loads. We decided to change tactic, but I could still see that the dynamics were horrible, and I didn't feel like the team was going to follow the tactical instructions as well, because that is one of the things that dynamics will affect. And can you see at which point here I did a team meeting? Believe it or not, before this Wolves game, it improved our morale. We managed to win that match, which in turn improved our morale. And then since then, we have been on a winning streak. We lost one recently, but we have been playing very, very well. You can see here what dynamics will affect. Because we have good team cohesion, it improves the vision and reactions of players, improves their player positioning and their general mental state. But what if you haven't got a team meeting available and you want to quickly improve the morale of a player? For example, we've got Wout Faes here. Now his dynamics, because he wants more game time, is currently sitting at a quite good level, the game calls it. Basically, it's okay, he's doing fine. But did you know you can go and discuss with player and then choose praise player and praise conduct? Most of the time, players aren't doing anything stupid, missing games or, getting fined for not turning to training. If they're not doing that, likely chances you can praise their conduct without any issue. So I'm going to put my arm around Wout Faes and say, I wanted to thank you for your conduct. Sometimes it will have very minimal effects, but other times it will take your player from good morale to great morale in a few seconds, and it's a very easy fix to do. And the final thing we'll look at is a new feature in the squad planner, a new part of this 5 things I wish I knew sooner video. I do like this feature. I don't think it's anything too crazy, but there's a few things in here that I wouldn't have recognised or noticed without watching a whole tutorial on how to use a squad planner. So just to show you, obviously you can see your squad position by position for next season and season after. That's kind of the basics of it. You can move players up and down in terms of where you see them performing. But did you know you can go to the old OG squad depth screen by showing full squad view, and it shows you the depth in each position, but there's more to the squad planner that I never even clicked on until today when planning this video, and I think it's quite cool. Firstly, you've got the experience matrix, which shows you players who are in a developmental stage or an emerging stage, or it tells you players who should be at the peak of their football. From here, I can see straight away we need some younger heads in the development squad because we've only got one, and we've got a lot of peak players who we should be looking to get the most out of, and we also need to think about replacing our experienced guys in Albrighton and Vardy. You can even go position by position and have a look, okay, what's our left back situation looking like? We've got one player in their peak, so maybe it's time to bring in a developmental player. You can use this any way you want, but I think it's quite a cool view to have a look at. It's something new. But the one thing that I was a big fan of was going to the report section and going to best 11. Now this shows you obviously your best 11 in every position for your tactic, and you can switch your tactic and switch the person given that report. But what I do like about it, which I didn't realise at first, is it also gives the best young option in that position. So this is purely focusing on players that it would consider in that emerging or developmental stage. For example, it's saying James Justin is our best left back and Luke Thomas is our best young left back. Okay, great, I kind of knew that, but what I didn't know is that one of our best young strikers is the name Reece Evans, and he looks okay, looks like he could do a job, and maybe down the line we can use him, but realistically this tells me we need some better young players coming through. But let's look at this. We've got a centre back by the name of Ben Nelson, who's already a 2-star player and considered our best young centre back. If we look at him, he's an 18-year-old English under-19 capped international on loan at Rochdale with some very nice physical attributes, and this guy could actually have a future for our club. Now really I should already know this by looking in the dev centre, but if you wanted to get a quick glimpse of where your next talent was coming through, this is a good idea of it. And from here I can easily see we need some better young midfielders coming through, but outside of that we've got some good young talent on the way, maybe a young striker needed as well. But I think this is a useful tip to quickly pick up and to give you an idea about where your team is at and your club's position for the future. But there we go, that's 5 things I wish I knew sooner in FM. Let me know your equivalents in the description down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check out my channel linked in the description. But most of all, have a great day everyone, and I'll see you next time. Thank you and goodbye.